Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. It's Graham Cove here, and the date today is whatever it is when you're watching this or listening to it. So I can't tell you that because, otherwise I'd be a mind reader, wouldn't I? I'm going to be speaking to Daniel today about his music. But first, we must whiz on over to the people at Analog Trash who've put together this wonderful little visual display for us, which will just wake us up.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Daniel Schamroth, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, sir? And
Graham,
where are you coming from?
I'm currently down in Devon, but just on the border to Cornwall. So I'm kind of like,
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. So not far at all from where I am.
Yeah. Oh, where are you?
I'm in Somerset at the moment.
Ah, you're in Somerset. Okay.
Yeah,
Whereabouts?
I'm in Chard. Now, do you know where Chard is?
I've driven through Chard.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's completely the right answer. Everyone that's watching this who knows Chard, lives in Chard now, is going, oh. But that is exactly what Chard is known for, right?
Driving through.
Because we're kind of the intersection. So just a little geography lesson for everybody that's listening. Chard is nestled between the cosmopolitan madness, which is Taunton and Yeovil. It sits towards the end of the 303, where it becomes the A30, and as such, it's kind of like a place that you would bypass, or if you could, but you can't, in order to get from the sort of main road from London, etc. Other than the motorway way, if you're going on the M5, etc. If you're going on the 303 out from the M3 down towards the West Country, which is the quicker and more beautiful route, you will reach Chard or go through it, and then you will head on down past Exeter, etc., to lovely Cornwall, and you'll go. So, I think we went through there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I used to go through there on my way to see my dad in Dorset when I was a kid. I think we used to drive that way. But I'm from Exeter originally, but I kind of living down just into Cornwall now, which is really, really lovely, a little corner of Cornwall, which I'm loving. Yeah, it's great.
I've got to ask you then, as a kind of West country lad, then, and sort of growing up with, I'd say, the music of this area, because your music has a sort of an acoustic-y, folky type of lilt to it. Were you quite influenced or surrounded by the sort of more folk sound of down here?
Not really,
no,
not really, not intentionally, no, because I sort of grew up playing in sort of like indie bands and that kind of stuff. So I was always drawn to what, I grew up with the kind of 90s explosion of indie music and Britpop or whatever. So that was always my thing, and I was always into like older kind of heritage artists, from like the 60s and 70s and that kind of stuff. So I'm a big like Neil Young fan, and Bob Dylan and the Beatles and all the kind of big hitters that you'd expect on that kind of list. But then kind of locally, I mean, you get artists that break out of this part of the world, but there's not so much like an identity, I don't think, as much as you get like in like Manchester or Liverpool or even like Birmingham or somewhere like that. It's much more disparate than that, I think, with the kind of musical heritage. You'll get like Muse, or
I was going to say from
Coldplay, or but like, I mean, I grew up listening to the Levelers, and they were one of the first bands I ever went to see, and just loved it. I was, and I listened back to Leveling the Land the other day, and just like was absolutely loving it. It's a great album.
Isn't it? There's only one
yeah,
way alive.
And there's no filler on that album. Every track is like really sing alongable and memorable.
Did you have the DMs and the sort of sort of like baggy trousers and
no, my look hasn't changed for about for about 25 years. So I was kind of always had the kind of Beatley haircut. That's just kind of my thing.
You weren't tempted by a Levelers t-shirt back in the day then, because they were all that tie dye and all of that,
Yeah, that wasn't really my bag. Yeah, and I was always like skinny jeans and big hair and all of that.
Yeah, a fantastic band. Where did you see them? Just out of interest, can you
it was in Exeter, at an old venue called the Three Fat Fish. And it was like an acoustic gig, so I think it was just the main guy and one other bloke with him, one other backing guy from the band. So it was really intimate, but it was packed, and I was just loving it. I was like about 16, and lots of cider flying around and everyone singing along. So it's good.
Well, they've got they've got an event down here every year. They've got their own festival down here called Beautiful Days. Have you ever managed to play on that? Have you ever managed to get in them?
I played with my band. So I was in a band called the Loft Club for about 8 years, and that's kind of, we're not really doing that anymore. I'm just kind of doing my own stuff. But we played there in the Big Top. Was it? Would it have been? Yeah, a few years ago. Cool. So I've been there. It was really muddy. It was raining, but everyone's having a good time. So,
true festival nature.
Proper muddy one. Yeah.
Okay, so you never really sort of like never really sort of got taken by the sort of more traditional folk scene around here, which comes out of like places like Sidmouth and whatever, where you've got people like Show of Hands and
I know of all of those guys and stuff, and I think it's all great. I love all music, but for me, I'm not a great musician. I'm not a technical musician. I've got friends who can just do incredible things with a guitar or another instrument, and I'm always in awe of that. But that's not me at all. I'm drawn towards quite simplistic melodies, and I've always loved the Beatles, and obviously the Beatles are very technical in their own way, but it's also if you listen to John's songwriting and stuff like that, it's very kind of immediate, and very kind of raw, and there's not that many changes in there, and that's always what I've kind of done. So I don't know. I'm not really into really fiddly stuff. But I don't. But at the same time, I admire it, and I think it's beautiful, and I love somebody that can make a guitar sing, and or layer things up, But that's not what I do, so I'm not as drawn to it. If that makes sense.
You're drawn to the song, basically.
Yeah. I'm drawn to always to the melody. So it's and the words, obviously. I'm a big on words and just the feeling of it. I think the feeling of it, just the emotion of it, it either gets you or it doesn't pretty quickly. That's always been my thing.
Yeah. When did you first start writing?
So I found we just moved house down here, and I found an old folder with some of my earliest songs attempts on it, and
Love it.
I won't be sharing them around.
No?
Put it that way.
No.
But I was I think literally as soon as I could play the guitar, as soon as I could pick it up, my dad had a guitar lying around, so as soon as I could put string together 3 chords, that was it, and my first instinct was, can I write a song? Can I get a song out of this? And I have no idea where that came from, really, because nobody encouraged me to do that or to kind of push me in that direction. It was an instinctive thing. and it still is. So whenever I look at a guitar, like I'm just thinking about songs, you know. So yeah, I was probably like 11 or 12, maybe.
Yeah. Did you actually struggle the other way? Did you? I mean, I was, to be honest, exactly the same when it came to guitars as an instrument. I mean, I kind of got put off. People that have listened to this show over many years now will already know this, but I got put off music at a very young age by, or playing music by being forced to play the recorder when I was young.
Oh yeah,
in school assembly and whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't forced at all. So my dad had a guitar. He played a bit, and he would play sometimes, but it wasn't forced on me at all. It was something that I came to myself and was magnetized to the guitar in the corner of the room kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never ever. Oh, I've gone through phases thinking, right, I need to like sit down, learn some scales, you know, and then I get and then halfway through that, I'm bored. All I want to do is, so for me, the guitar is a tool to find the melody. It's to write the song, you know, and it would be the same if I learned piano. I played a little bit of piano. I'm really not very good on the piano, but I can play a tiny bit. But for me, it's like I'm just trying to find sounds that lead me into a song, and that's all it is. You know, I'm just lazy like that. I just want the end bit,
I know. I totally hear you.
Yeah.
You know, one of my sons is learning guitar, and he's learning tab, and he's learning scales, and he's learning all of that. And I'm like, and I admire it because I understand that he's going to get much better theory than me, etc. I literally would just like, I'd get fixated on shapes, for example. I'd literally like put my hands on the guitar. I had no idea what they were. But I'd literally like make shapes and go, that sounds nice. Or if I move it up to that, that sounds nice. And then I'd just get really, really excited if I just found a new shape that I could do with my hands. And then that was it.
And I still do that now, you know. I'll find a new shape, or I put my little finger there, and it's like, oh wow, that really changes the sound of it, and it, you know, and it's instinctive, and there's a magic to that, you know. And I've got lots of friends who are like fucking grade 8, grade 9, you know, on multiple instruments, and I think that's incredible. But it's also like there's a restriction maybe around being that good.
Yeah, and then they'd go, "Ooh, you shouldn't do that."
Yeah.
Well, why?
Yeah, why not? Exactly. But I definitely had friends who were really, really good technically, but maybe not as creatively as Free or as, you know, proficient that way.
I think it's amazing when people I think it's amazing when you find really musically proficient, technically proficient musicians who have also got an amazing gift for songwriting. But it is actually quite rare. It is actually quite rare, because it tends to be either you're incredibly good technically, and then just think about all of those cover bands that are out there in the country, right? And these people can play anything. Like, you know, they just learn another song to put into.
Listen, I was in a Beatles cover band, and one of the guys that I played with is an incredible guitarist, like literally an incredible guitarist. Like he said to me, like, he sat me down and he's like, look, just say any song to me, ask me any song, and if I vaguely know it, I'll probably be able to play it within about 10 seconds. And I was
crazy.
Like, right, okay, go on then. So we played this game with, you know, like anything from like Britney Spears to, you know, whatever. And he could just play it, you know. And it's like, wow, that is something else, you know.
Yeah. And then you say, write me a song, and they're like,
I mean, he does write as well, this guy, and he's good. But I think his real gift is to be this amazing guitarist, you know. But you know, but you need people that can do all the elements, don't you? You know, like I'm good at what I do, but sometimes I need other proficient musicians around me to kind of pull me up and, you know, make it all sound better, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask how do you, what do you like in terms of when you're making music, when you're doing the process of actually producing music, what do you like to have around you that actually makes you feel like it takes what you do to that next level? I mean,
it depends what the deal is. So if like when I was in the band, I was writing songs with the band in mind. So it was like I would sit and write a song on the guitar, and then I could hear what was going to come in where on the chorus. So I had an idea of how it was going to build or, build out. And then it's just having the right musicians that you trust around you who have the same kind of ears or have the same kind of instincts that can kind of carry it the right way. And I was lucky enough to have that in the band that I was in. A really good bass player, a really good drummer, amazing lead guitarist. And it just kind of, we had that little bit of understanding. That you grow over time from playing together. But then more recently, well, what I've always done is write on my own. I've never really written with other people. I have a little bit, but I'm quite private about writing. And now what I'm doing more is just releasing lots of solo acoustic stuff. And I like the immediacy of that because I can just record. So literally, we're releasing home demos at the moment. So I'll just record a home demo and get it mixed and mastered and just put it out, and that seems to be going really well. So in that process, obviously the relationship with a producer is important, but there's not any kind of wizardry or bells and whistles to it. It's literally just getting a decent recording, making sure I'm happy with like my vocal, and making sure that the guitar is not too loud, and that's kind of it. And just the vibe of it is there straight away.
Are you now thinking about your music in a slightly different way then? Are you now thinking, I mean, it sounds like you're really enjoying that process, which is great. But so you now thinking, that's how I put it out, that's how I produce the music. And then once it's out and you've got that music out there now, are you then thinking, how do I put this out live, or am I going to put, potentially, am I going to embellish it a bit more live from time to time? I can go and put it out by myself, and that's great. So I could stand there with a guitar and just play it, but from time to time I might play maybe a bigger arena or whatever.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's nice putting these songs out acoustically, and they are immediate. And I think there's an audience out there that wants to hear kind of intimate acoustic music, and so that seems to be working quite well. But once I'm hopefully do some shows in the new year, and that'll be more about kind of building it out a little bit bigger. So I'll bring in a couple of musicians to just kind of it's more interesting. I always think it's really interesting, much more interesting to see more than one person on stage. I went to see Ryan Adams in Plymouth the other day, and he's like one of my hero kind of songwriters. And it's the second time I've seen him, but it's the first time I've seen him on his own, and it was his acoustic tour. And obviously, like everyone knows every single one of his songs, and he can hold a crowd, and he's been doing it for 30 years or whatever. But it was just him and a guitar, and then occasionally him and piano, and it was a 3-hour show,
Wow. Wow.
And 3 hours. He does 3 hours a night with one little break in the middle.
Quite brave, actually, isn't it?
It's really brave. I mean, it sounded amazing, like, and he was brilliant. But I could do a bit of that, but I think I'd struggle to do 3 hours like that. But I always like it when you see somebody and there's, they come down. It comes down a bit for an acoustic song, and then it goes somewhere else for a bit. And it has a few like peaks and troughs.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's great, isn't it, when you can work off of a bass line and then be quite creative about it. I've seen some great things over the years in terms of that. I'm seeing more and more artists that are kind of solo artists like yourself, who are real singer-songwriters with strong songs that can be sung on the guitar, maybe going out with like a trio, so that you know, there's drums and bass, etc. there as well. And I think that's quite interesting. One of my favorite ones that I went to see was Christian Hirsch, who she occasionally goes out with a trio, and they all swap instruments. I love that. I think it's great if like oh, you know, I'm going to play drums on this, and
it's nice. It's nice.
You know, only for one song, but just to, like, you know, maybe just like keep themselves on edge, I think, more than anything else.
I definitely can't play drums. So if somebody puts some sticks in my hands, I'd.
But I also think it's quite cool if it also gives people an opportunity to maybe try some different things as well. Is there if you could get really creative here, just think about this for a minute. If you could get really creative, maybe rather than the most obvious things, drums and bass or whatever, if you could go out with someone that plays something very different, would you know, what would that be?
I've got a friend who plays the sitar. I'd love to do some stuff with that.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing. But then, you know, maybe for just a few songs, you know, again, it's not something you'd want to do like 2 hours of.
No, just bring them in for a couple of songs, just to do like a little segment. I think that'd be quite cool.
I released a record early this year, and that had live strings on it, on a couple of the tracks, and I really enjoyed that process, because I can quite often, because my songs are quite stripped back and they're quite simple really, but I can quite often hear strings on the songs, and it was just a really nice. It's the first time I've had synthetic strings before, like electronic strings, but to actually have an orchestra playing over your track in a studio with it come through the speaker, it was just like real tingles down the spine kind of moment. And if I could translate that to a live gig, I think that would be really cool.
I went to see a band with playing with a quartet live, and I thought that worked incredibly well. It actually kind of really blended into like everything else being slightly more acoustic as well. It just really worked, because it kind of just fleshed out the songs without it going, it doesn't take over, electric.
Exactly. It's still in that kind of acousticness sort of vibe, isn't it?
We're making up words, by the way, as we go. But it doesn't. Acousticness is you know,
it's an American word, acousticness.
Oh could be could be on a piece of merch coming your way soon, folks. Just a t-shirt with acousticness on it.
Acousticness.
Great label, wouldn't it, for a brand of clothes for people that are interested in acoustic music. I love that.
Album title.
So we're coming towards the end of 2024. What's kind of on your mind for 2025? What are you hoping to sort of like build up to next year?
So this year's been very much kind of just recording and putting out tracks. So next year I want to kind of put some live stuff together, like we've been talking about. So that's on my mind. I'll be recording and releasing some more music. We're kind of trying to release one track a month. That's kind of what we've been doing for the last few months, and that's been working really nicely. And I'll try to do a bit more of that into next year. But then some live shows as well. Hopefully some festivals. That's the aim, just to get out in front of people a bit more.
Any particular sort of slots there in terms of festivals, or maybe people that you'd like to play support act to, or whatever?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we'll see what comes up. But just the right things, you know. Because I'm going to kind of keep it quite stripped down, and just make sure it's play to nice audiences that want to listen to music, you know, rather than throw things at you or whatever.
Don't you think that there's quite a lot of that these days? I actually genuinely believe that there's probably in most cases, there's probably a bit more musical tolerance, as it were, or a sort of a better ear in terms of the audience now than there perhaps was. And I think that's partly to do with how people listen to music now. I mean, when I was growing up, we were still coming off the back of nowhere near as much as sort of like earlier in the 70s and whatever, where you did have like big fashion groups that were, you know, were gangs as well, centered around music. But there was still some kind of gang mentality towards music. But people generally these days can listen to all sorts, and it's. I went to a live gig the other day, and there were 3 bands, and they were all completely different. And I think that's a kind of growing trend.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I think you're right. I think there's more of an eclectic. People have more of an eclectic ear these days, just purely because of like Spotify, you know, and you're exposed to so much more music. You know, you're not just restricted to your record collection or your mum and dad's record collection. It's all there at the touch of a button. You can Shazam a song if you hear a song on a TV program that you like, and that can take you into a whole rabbit warren of artists that you'd never even heard of. And, you know, I do it all the time, and that's amazing. But then I also worry that there's so much music out there that, you know, you don't even know where to start. You know, it's like sometimes I've got friends around and we've got Spotify on or something, and they'll say, "Oh, put something on," and you're like, shit, what should I put on? Like, I don't even know, what do I like? Whereas if you've got some physical records in front of you that you can flick through, it's like a reminder, you know, it's like giving you some ideas. Oh yeah, I'll whack that on, you know. So anyway, I'm digressing a bit from your question, but yeah, I think
I like the digression. It was good.
I think people are more eclectic, more like like down the road from us there's this amazing venue up on the hill, and we went up there, and they put on bands and artists and stuff, and it was like 3 acts, and the first one was like a out and out indie band, and then the second band was like a metal band, and then the third act was like a female fronted kind of hipster explosion of different influences, quite hard to like pigeonhole, and quite operatic as well. It was really mad, but really cool. And it was just like to see those 3 all together was really nice. And actually looking around at the audience, everybody listened to each band and absorbed each, you know, there was no one was turning their nose up at anything, you know, and that was cool. So yeah, so maybe the younger generation are a bit more open-minded.
I think so. I was schooled even myself this week, because I'm still quite old school in some of my listening habits. I still love CDs and vinyl and whatever else. Although, you know, it's nice to have the digital side of things as well. And even though I do put all of this stuff out on Spotify and whatever, throughout the day. I'll just sort my camera out there for a second. Even though I put all of this stuff out on Spotify, and I know how Spotify works from sort of behind the scenes and everything, I didn't know about this, and someone told me about it, which is this thing called blends. Have you heard about that?
No. What's that?
No, there you go. So anyone that's listening, as Daniel kind of just described, if you do go to a party and, you know, there's a whole load of you there, you can do blends now on Spotify, which is where you invite your friends, if they're on Spotify as well, right, to join together, and it creates a playlist that's blended between all of your playlists.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's quite cool. Yeah, but you've got to be careful about who you invite to come in. You know, I don't want them come. They've got some dodgy music taste. Yeah.
Probably avoid people that. I shouldn't say this. I was going to say probably avoid people that have perhaps only do listen to one type of music, just because it could get a little bit, you know, a little bit boring. If all they listen to is Jive Bunny, probably don't invite them to your space. That's all I'm going to say.
Enrique Iglesias. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my word. Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure. Just before you go,
likewise.
just tell people what have you got out now that people can go and listen to, so that we can get them interested in that and get them into your music. And of course, what we'll do is we'll add that as well to the My Music Podcast playlist, so that people can get which stands at 30 hours long. But there you go, so that you can just get them into it in an easy way.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm releasing like one track every 4 weeks or so at the moment. But the most recent one is a track called Skyscraper. And it's a very kind of acoustic, stripped down song. So yeah, you can have a listen to that, and that's kind of me.
It is, but it's quite anthemic at the same time.
Yeah. I think so.
It's got quite a good. Yeah, it's got quite a good feel-good factor. I can imagine like you could actually get people singing along to that at a festival. So it's not.
Yeah, my songs are quite simple but quite catchy, but kind of heart on sleeve. I'd say that kind of vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and folks, thank you for listening as well. If you've enjoyed this, please do like, share, and all of those different things. And we'll see you again soon for another My Music. Keep listening out there, folks. Bye for now.